Hello my gamers and welcome back to the Noobs for the Noob God Tournament. Today we have Negator leading the Lizardmen versus Wizard King leading the Vampire Coast. Starting off with the Lizardmen, we are being led by a Saurus Oldblood, being assisted by a Skink Chief and a Skink Priest of Beasts. He's going to be bringing 2 Skink Cohorts, 2 Saurus Warriors with Shields, and 3 units of Temple Guard for his front line. For his ranged infantry, he's bringing 2 units of Chameleon Skinks. And for his miscellaneous monstrous units, he's bringing a Bastillodon with a Revivification Crystal, which I can never say, some Croxagors, some Pterodon Riders, and a Stegodon. The Vampire Coast are being led by Noctilus and a Gunnery Wight. His front line is 4 units of Zombie Pirate Deckhands Mob, 2 units of Zombie Pirate Deckhands Mob with Polearms, and 2 units of Depth Guard. For his ranged infantry, he's bringing 2 units of Zombie Pirate Gunnery Mob with handguns, 1 Deck Gunner, and the Shade Wraith Gunners, which are of course the Regiments of Renown of Deck Gunners. For his monstrous units, he's bringing some Scurvy Dogs, some Animated Hulks, a Rotting Leviathan, and some Deck Dropper Bombers. And of course, he's bringing Queen Bess. Let's get into this one. So starting off here, we can see that the Lizardmen player has some Skinks moving through this forest, nice and hidden. They also have the Saurus Oldblood moving around this hill here, again through the forest, and the Pterodon Riders also trying to move as hidden as they can. Currently this hill is blocking most of the units from vision, so I don't think the Vampire Coast can see anything at all, which is very good indeed. Otherwise, Queen Bess would surely be raining hell down upon them. Now, over here for the Vampire Coast, we can see that the Scurvy Dogs have started up at the front, and once they crest this hill, they're going to reveal most of the units over here, so that's a very good idea. Get the units revealed so that you can start firing as soon as possible. As their stand formation, they have a pretty standard checkerboard pattern with their ranged units scattered around so that they can get some fantastic shots off. And of course, Queen Bess is at the back, being protected by the Polearm Zombie Pirate Deckhands Mob right there, so she should be just fine, and hopefully see a lot of action in this fight. Just going to speed through this until we get some action. As we can see, the direwolves are now reaching the top of the hill and have just revealed the majority of the Lizardmen force there. Sorry, if I could put my teeth in correctly. And it looks like they're going to try and charge down those Chameleon Skinks. Is it? No, they're just moving into a good position so that they can see them. Now, the Pterodon Riders are moving around. They have also been spotted, as has the Saurus Oldblood here, so the pirate player better keep an eye out and make sure that he reacts to this accordingly, rather than let them get into his backlines and cause him too much trouble. Now, the Lizardman player is just gradually moving his units up, not rushing into anything. He's actually got his Stegodon into range, and he's going to be shooting at some of those Zombie Pirate Deckhands Mob. Personally, I wouldn't really bother. I'd probably be trying to hit the Shade Wraith Gunners, which are now firing upon those Pterodon Riders, or maybe even the Depth Guard right here. But the Pterodon Riders have just crested around the side of the woods and are being shot to pieces by the Shade Wraith Gunner, along with the Skink Chief. That is some heavy damage and a few casualties. Oh, no, not any. Oh, there we go. 2 units just dropped. Now we have some heavy casualties. But yes, they have taken a tremendous amount of damage just to make a couple of volleys because the Shade Wraith Gunners are immensely strong. They can just rip literally anything to shreds that they see. Now, these Scurvy Dogs have managed to kind of sneak upon these Chameleon Skinks here. I believe they have a a significant speed advantage, actually. But if he brings in, the Pterodon Riders, the Saurus Oldblood, and the Skink Priest of Beast to help, then they're going to have no trouble escape from that. And it looks like the Vampire Coast player has seen that and is now retreating. The Shade Wraith Gunners are once again firing upon these Chameleon Skinks here, doing a fantastic amount of damage. They haven't picked up many kills, but they are certainly getting plenty of value. Now we can see that the other Chameleons? Yeah, the other Chameleon Skinks are moving around and they have become hidden again thanks to that stalk ability, so they are trying to kind of sneak around, and I hope they are not on firewall, otherwise he's going to give his position away far too early and not get the value that he's hoping to get. Queen Bess firing off her first volley, I think. Nope, she's definitely throwing another one. Look at that massive hole in the Temple Guard. Excellent tags in there. That is exactly what we want to do with Queen Bess. Focus on the highest value targets you possibly can, and with that 2 volleys, the Temple Guards are down to half health. God, Queen Bess is so beautiful. Look at her go. The majority of the Lizardmen forces now starting to move up. That Stegodon has now redirected its fire into the Shade Wraith Gunners. Excellent choice there. Exactly what I would have done. You just need to shut them down as soon as possible because they get so much value. When you are going against Vampire Coast, you need to shut down their ranged units. Everything else will take care of itself. Now, the Chameleon Skinks unfortunately have given away their position a little bit early, so if the Vampire Coast player can react quick enough, he can turn these guys around and shoot them to pieces before they can get too much value. The other Chameleon Skinks have now moved up in this very skinny formation, which is actually kind of smart, because the Shade Wraith Gunners in this formation will fire in a wide, not in a wide arc, but like, basically if you imagine that they are this straight line, they will fire like in that straight line. So if the Chameleon Skinks are lined up like this, it's going to be actually more difficult for them to hit them than if they were, the same widthways. I hope I'm explaining this correctly. I feel like I need to draw on a whiteboard to do it better. As you can see, the majority of the Lizardmen force are now getting into range. The Croxagors are charging up ahead. I wouldn't personally do that. Those large targets, you know, they kind of tend to get a little bit picked out if they are not assisted by some infantry, but you never know, we will see. The deck dropper bombers are moving forwards towards this Saurus warriors with shields, and they are starting to do... Oh my god, they are starting to get some serious work done right there. Crocscores are trying to make contact with the depth gunners, but they're going to settle for the zombie pirate deckhands mob. That is exactly what this Vampire Coast player needs, and exactly what he wants, just so he can pin these guys down and shoot them to pieces. The Shadewave gunners are actually starting to break now because of all that sustained fire from the bloody Stegodon. Good lord, my words. They are starting to break from the Stegodon sustained fire, and they are just trying to get a few more shots off on this Skink Priest, the Saurus Oldblood, the Pterodons, literally anything in this area. They are trying to shoot it to get some value before they disappear. It might have been worth, you know, pulling them back, trying to get them into a more defensive position, but, you know, it's kind of too late for that now. He just needs to get the value out of them while he can, or maybe try and heal them up with a bit of Noctilus. Now, he has sent the Direwolves out forward, and they have actually pinned down the Chameleon Skinks there, and are not very pleased about being attacked in the rear. Unfortunately, the Temple Guards are right here, and Temple Guards versus Scurvy Dogs, it's like just walking through a piece of dry spaghetti for those guys. They will just walk straight through them, barely even feel it whatsoever. So yeah, he needs to pull those Direwolves out there right now, or he's going to lose them incredibly quickly. Now I can see the Saurus Oldblood is on the Queen Bess, and I believe he's going to stop her from firing right there. He might not. Queen Bess can fire under ridiculous circumstances sometimes, but like he pushed it very far away there, so you never know. Now the Chameleon Skinks are into the backlines. They are being shot to pieces by these handgunners, but they are just firing into so many units here. That's 1, 2, 3, 4 units there. They're going to hit him with that poison, and just going to making it so much easier for this Saurus Oldblood to stay in here and cause so much havoc. Now, the Skink Priest is also firing into this clump. Again, he can't miss. He's just firing into a big clump of enemy units, and he can't miss. He's going to be getting so much value there. Was that a drop bombs ability? I believe it might have been. He just walked over those, dropped those rocks, and did some fantastic damage there. Not too many kills, but some excellent value nonetheless. This position is quickly becoming compromised. Queen Bess is starting to enter critical binding, and hopefully she'll be able to get to grip. There we go, back to weak binding. That's exactly what you want to see. Now we do have these deck gunners. They are facing the wrong direction a little bit. Those Temple Guard are moving up on them, and it looks like neither side has really worked out what they want to do here. The Temple Guard really wants to be moving forward, pinning down these deck gunners, stopping them from firing, but it looks like the Skink Priest of Beast is going to do that anyway, and probably end up in a fight with Noctilus while he's at it. The Gunnery White is now firing at these Pterodon Rads as they run away. They managed to reduce. They managed to rout the Chameleon Skinks with those handgunner fires, and also Noctilus, and also the Gunnery White focusing on them all at once. And we also have a Skink cohort breaking over here to a unit of Deckhands mob and some Depth Guard. The Temple Guard are now starting to move in on that Deckhands mob, and the Deck Gunners are just struggling to fire. They really need to be in a better position. It might be worth focusing on the Revivification Crystal, or maybe trying to get around and shoot to the backs, because as it is now, they're not going to get much value shooting right there. On the right flank over here, we can see the majority of the Temple Guard. The Lizardmen infantry are starting to move in. What is that? That is a Rotting Leviathan that is breaking those Saurus Warriors with shields, and he's barely taking any damage. Those guys are so insanely tough, do so much work. I love them. Unfortunately, against a Saurus Oldblood, he's not going to last too long. Saurus Oldbloods are excellent at this sort of combat. I believe he's getting a bonus versus large there, so this is exactly what he wants to do. Fight these other large monsters and get so much value. Now, the Deckhands bombers are kind of left out in the open here. I'm not exactly sure what is going on too much just now. I'm just going to slow this down. But they're being shot to pieces by the Chameleon Skinks. And the way they are right now, they are just surrounded by enemy units. So they are going to rapidly lose leadership and really need to move out and get some value before it is too late. You can see here that the Stegodon is now turning its attention to firing on Queen Bess, who is still continuing to fire and continuing to blow up her own units there. You love to see it. JK. She's got some excellent value this game. She's done so much damage. Got 32 kills. Fantastic work. It's just possibly not the best idea. I'd probably be aiming for this blob, because that's value time right there. Even if they're not the most elite units in this blob, getting all those kills and you can't really miss, it's going to contribute to army losses so much faster. Unfortunately, the Saurus Oldblood here is getting focused down by the handgunners, and it also looks like the dead gunners, and it also looks like Noctilus. So he's taking a huge amount of damage. If he falls, this could really turn the tide in the favour of the Vampire Coast, and he has in fact broken. I'm not sure he's shattered yet. He still has 1,000 health, and is getting revived by the Revivification Crystal. You know what? I'm just going to call it the Revive Crystal, because that shit's hard to say, dog. The Saurus Oldblood here actually taking a lot more damage as he runs away. He might not be able to come back from that. That is a very small percentage of health to be on, and it looks like Noctilus is going to shoot him all the way home. So we are not too sure. The Lizardmen don't really have too much left. They have the Chameleon Skinks, which have come back, as well as the Pterodon Riders, which are hanging around a little bit, but they are both being shot at by the gunnery mob with handguns, and are doing some excellent damage right there. It doesn't look like they're going to last too much longer. This clump over here, they really need to turn Queen Bess' attention to it to just get so much value. I mean, the animated Hulks are doing okay, along with the Depth Guard and the Pole Arms, But, you know, with the Queen Bess, you really want to just be firing into a blob like this. It's an absolute dream for her. The Revive Crystal is now getting into the middle of this blob and doing some decent damage. Not too mad, but, you know, it's a Bastille at the end of the day, so it's just kind of there to have something strapped to its back and have a nice effect. The Saurus Oldblood, he's on the edge of the map, but he has just about rallied, so fortunately this Lizardmen force isn't going to suffer from the Lord running away. Not too much, at least, not just yet. But it's still not looking too good. They don't really have that many units left, and the units they do have left, they really don't have much health. The only things they have that are very healthy are the Stegodon, the Revive Crystal, and a single unit of Chameleon Skinks, because pretty much everything else is starting to fall to pieces, and it's not looking very promising for the Lizardmen whatsoever. The handgunners have been targeted excellently. Even though they haven't got many kills, they've been doing so much damage. Get that Saurus Oldblood and get that Stegodon worked down. Same with Noctilus. Although Noctilus himself, 142 kills, absolute madman, and he just popped out his ability there on that Bastildon, and that did some excellent damage, shook him up nicely, and he will be rooting in just a few moments now, it looks like. The Saurus Oldblood, he's actually got a lot of his leadership back and is now charging in, hopefully going to try and calm down these Crocodiles, get them back into the battle, and just try and push anything he can here. He still has a full health Noctilus to take care of, which that's really not good. The Queen Bess finally turning her attention this way, and it looks like we're going to get an excellent shot into this clump here, which is kind of thinned out, but nevertheless, it's going to hurt. We're actually just aiming for these Temple Guard over here, and it's, oh, fantastic direct hit. A lot of depth guard caught in that explosion there, but you know what? When it's the Vampire Coast, it doesn't really matter. You can just blow them up. You're going to get more value from hitting the enemy than you are from what you'll lose hitting your own units. Now this Stegodon has made a desperate attempt to shut down these handgunners over here. Unfortunately, there's another unit of handgunners and a unit of depth gunners and a unit of, Count Noctilus also shooting on him right now. So it doesn't really matter. Unfortunately for him, he's been routed very, very quickly there. And it's just looking like cleanup for the Vampire Coast now. The Saurus Oldblood is back into combat. They might need to turn some attention over here. That clump is reforming. I might retarget Queen Bess. There's another unit of Temple Guard coming over here, but look at them. Yep, damage sustained, and they shattered almost immediately. And, it's looking like we're getting sort of a chain route over here. There's three units that are starting to break, and it's not looking good whatsoever. Oh, the Saurus Oldblood has broken once again. He is definitely not coming back. With 397 health, I would be so surprised if he managed to come back from this. And that looks like it's going to be the final nail in the coffin. As I said, it's literally just clean up here. There's not really much to say. There's just the big clump, and then there's Queen Bess and the ranged units, and they're all just firing at it. The Stegodon has managed to come back, but it's still only got 3,000 health, and there we go. Imelos has finally taken hold, and the Vampire Coast are going to take the day. Excellently played that. I would not have bet that. I was really thinking it was going to be the Lizardmen, purely because they just had that numbers advantage where they could get around. But you know what? The Vampire Coast army worked very, very well, and the players should be very proud. In fact, both players should be very proud. You did great, guys. So, starting with the Lizardmen here, an excellent, excellent effort. It was truly admirable. It's just, good lord, Queen Bess is... She's far too good, man. Especially in multiplayer like this. It's just not fair. You just lose your most valuable units instantaneously. It's brutal. So, as you can see, the Saurus Oldblood got 37 kills there, but again, he was going for high value targets, so he didn't get a massive number of kills, but he did do, the majority of damage that was done to Queen Bess, he did himself. And the Rotten Leviathan, the majority of damage that was done to that, he did himself. Unfortunately, he just took so much damage in the process that it didn't end up being, completely worth it. A similar thing for the Skink Priest here. Most of the battle, he was focusing on high value targets rather than massive clumps of enemies, so while I didn't get many kills, he did get some good value nevertheless. The Skink Priest of Beast actually got a few more kills there. He also had the ranged firepower going on, as well as a couple of spells. We're going to have to go back and have another look to keep an eye out for any of those spells, because there weren't any that massively stuck out to me. But from that value right there, you can tell that he was definitely throwing some things out. This Skink cohort's definitely an admirable performance for them because they are a very early game unit. You don't really see them used too much. So 56 kills and 13, add that together. What you got there, you got about 69. Nice. That's very nice value right there, of course. Same thing with the Saurus Warriors with Shields. Early game unit, but still got some decent value. As for the Temple Guard, that one unit just got absolutely obliterated before I even had a chance. But the other two, nearly 100 kills each, so you can't really complain about that. The Chameleon Skinks, again, were firing into a large clump of lots of enemy units, so they were doing a lot of poison damage, even if they weren't picking up a massive number of kills themselves. But nevertheless, 57 is definitely very good. The Revive Crystal, 61 there from that little charge that he did, and he also got a lot of value, increasing the health of his units. He managed to increase the Old Blood's health as he was running away, made sure that he was managing to come back, so that's excellent use there. The Croc scores so much value when you just throw them into chaff. They can just shred literally anything, But against anything more elite, they do tend to drop off a little bit, so, you know, that's why they got so many kills when they were against the pirate mob, but against the depth guard, they didn't get too much done. The Pterodon Riders, it was really unfortunate. I was really hoping they get a lot more value. You know, maybe drop some bombs into that massive clump, a little bit more in the middle, because they look to be off to the side a little bit. You know, try and shoot the enemy's range units and keep moving them around. But nevertheless, he did get some decent value. And of course, the Stegodon, probably the most valuable unit. Even though it doesn't have the most kills, it took out those Shade Wraith Gunners, and that is extreme value right there. As for the Vampire Coast, Count Noxalis absolutely slaughtered. I don't think I even saw him sweat once. He has 151 kills, pretty much at full health. Absolute monster. He always has been though. So you know, we can't give him too much credit because Noctilus is incredible, and it's just obvious that he's incredible. And when you use him, he's going to be incredible. The Gunner White, not too many kills, but still not a bad number. But Gunner White's mostly just there to, you know, keep the range units buffed and topped up. So he surely did his job right there. The Pirate Deckhands mob actually getting decent value, 37-17. That's not too bad whatsoever. So I've been very pleased with that. Same thing for this Polehammer with 18 kills. For the Depth Guard, 50 kills and then 140 kills. That is massive value. Excellently done there. I'm not sure what he was fighting, but good lord, that is a lot of kills for those guys. Now, as you can see on the ranged units, apart from, you know, Queen Bess, who 92 kills, what do you expect? It's Queen Bess. They didn't actually get that many kills. I think they just did a lot of damage. He really used them to focus down, you know, the Old Blood, the Skink Priest, the Skink Chief, the Pterodons, the Stegodons, the Bastildons. He really used them to focus down the large targets, which is a very good use of them, because even though they're not getting a lot of kills, they're still softening up the massive units and the massive threats on the enemy side, and are softening them up so that once they get into battle, they can't really get any value, and it's, you know, money down the drain. So excellent use there. The Scurvy Dogs, not really that many kills, but, you know, Scurvy Dogs, they were just kind of there for scouting. Can't complain about that. The Animated Hulks, 50 kills, definitely an admirable performance there. I'm very pleased with that. The Rotten Leviathan was in the middle of a massive infantry clump versus Saurus Old Blood, and he definitely got a huge amount of value until he got shut down, but definitely worthwhile there. As for the Deck Droppers with Bombers, I didn't really see too much damage, but again, Lizard infantry is so ridiculously tough, so if he's not aiming on the Skink cohort, chances are he's not going to get that many kills. But yes, excellent for both sides, honestly. Very, very pleased with this one. It was action-packed. I really enjoyed it. So let's get to the scores. So starting off with the Lizardmen, we gave him a 16 out of 20 for army composition. We really liked this battle. In fact, both of these guys have some extremely high scores, so that's always nice to see. We liked the good choice of Lords and Heroes. You know, we didn't have any Legendary Lords in there, which is quite nice to see. It's nice and refreshing. The Lore of Beasts also isn't that common, so that's a great pick. We enjoyed the decently varied front line. You know, you didn't just go for the obvious, you know, Temple Guard spam or Saurus spam. You got a couple of Skink cohorts in there. As I said at the start, it would have been nice to see them flanking, but they're in the composition, and this is the composition points, so we're going to give you points for it. Chameleons, also always good pick. Difficult to use, but very rewarding if you use them well, so it's always nice to see them. And all the monsters were quite fun and varied, so no complaints here. As for tactics, we gave him a 15 out of 20. As I said, the Chameleons, they can be really rewarding if you are good at managing them, and the Chameleons were excellently managed for the most part. You know, they were getting around, they were firing into big clumps where they could do lots of poison damage, help out rather than doing massive amounts of damage, and also taking out units that they could take out, like those Deck Droppers. They were firing upon them while they weren't, you know, busy doing anything else like poisoning the front line, so excellently used for them. The Stegodon targeting was fantastic. He took out a bunch of key targets, took out the Shade Wraith Gunners, was focusing on Queen Bess, was focusing on literally everything that was key in the Vampire Coast army. This thing was focused on it at one point or another. It was fantastically used. The Lord charge into Queen Bess was so bold and would have been really great if he didn't get swarmed by like 800 units and focused down very, very fast. But we absolutely love that. He found the opening, snuck around all the enemy units, and just got in there and did a substantial amount of damage to Queen Bess. Unfortunately, it just wasn't enough. He was a little clumped at times with the infantry. You know, there were some times, especially on that right flank for the Vampire Coast, where there were like 3 or 4 units of Lizardmen just kind of fighting one unit of Deckhands. And yeah, Deckhands are really weak, and you can just walk straight through them, but it's still going to slow you down. I would have personally liked to see him, you know, spread them around and use them to surround some units, focus them down quicker, or, you know, just try and get into the back lines. But nevertheless, a 15 out of 20 is an exceptional score, so very well done there. As for Magic, this is kind of where we felt he let himself down just a little bit, which is entirely fair, because he was doing a lot of micromanagement. In fact, both sides of this battle were doing a lot of micro, so, you know, it has to, you run out of micro eventually, and Magic is just where it happened to be. We did see a few buffs here and there, and the odd flock of Jaff on a few key targets. One thing that we really liked, and we thought he did excellently, was the Revivification Crystal, which I can never say. He used that on a bunch of his key units, made it so that his Lord could definitely come back, using it on a couple of his other monsters on his front lines. He used it a bunch, and it really did help out, you know. if you have a regeneration cap on your units, you want to aim to use as much of all of those regeneration caps as you can, because that means the enemy has to do so much more damage to, kill your units, and you can just last so much longer and be such a thorn on their side, so it was excellent to see. If we were to pick anything apart, it would have been nice to see a few more offensive spells, as well as, buffing your own troops. That's all well and good, and debuffing the enemy troops, also excellent. But, we like to see something a little bit more cinematic, doing some damage to units. Even though the Lore of Beasts isn't the most cinematic of them all, it would have been nice to see something, maybe a summon or just some offensive spells in there. But nevertheless, very well done, and that brings his total to 39.5 out of 60, which is an exceptional score. Now, for the Vampire Coast, starting with army composition, we gave him a 13.5, which is it's a pretty decent score. Can't lie to you there, Chief. The front line was very large and very varied for the Vampire Coast. Normally, it's very easy to just spam a bunch of range units, loads of deck gunners or handgunners. But having that many units on your front line, having it that varied, was very interesting to see and very refreshing. We enjoyed that quite a lot. We did notice that he picked very few range units, which, as I mentioned, is very strange, but the ones that he did pick were fantastic. Handguns and deck gunners are incredible. Deck gunners are obviously just amazing, and handguns are like the closet carry of the Vampire Coast. They do so much damage for how early in the game you get them and how cheap they are in multiplayer, so we definitely enjoyed that, and definitely enjoyed how we use them, which we'll come to in a moment. Queen Bess, yep, do I have to really say any more? Queen Bess, she's too good to miss, so of course we love when people bring her, and we love seeing her in action. It's a little bit of an obvious pick, but you can't fault him too much, because if you don't take Queen Bess, you can't shoot yourself in the foot. Now, the Rotting Leviathan and the animated Hulks aren't very common, so it's always nice to see them, and, well, they're not common for kind of a reason, but I was pleasantly surprised with how I saw them used, so definitely can give him some points there. Nocturus, however, is a very similar unit to Queen Bess. He's too good to miss, so while it's a very obvious pick to take him, it's one of those where if, you don't take him, then you shoot yourself in the foot. And finally, the Gunnery Y is, a Gunnery Y. You have to take one with the Vampire Coast, so excellently used there. As for tactics, we gave him a massive 16 out of 20. He reacted excellently to all of the Lizard players' advances. That flank on the right with the Pterodon Riders, he noticed that, shot them to pieces before they could even get close. When the Saurus Oldblood charged in on Queen Bess, he swarmed him down and focused him to make sure that he was running away as soon as possible to keep Queen Bess alive. When anything happened, this player reacted excellently, and his micro was absolutely on point. He could have played it super passively, like when you're playing the Vampire Coast, when you have that much range, it's very easy to just be very defensive and very passive and just wait for the enemy to come to you and just shoot at whatever's exposed. But he actually changed it up to, while he was playing very defensively, he was actually super reactive rather than just being completely passive. So when the Lizard player would do anything, he would react to it excellently and just, counter them, and it was just really refreshing, excellent to see. We really enjoyed it. He fended off the Bess attack extremely well. I would say the only downside was a few moments where his targeting was a little bit off and he missed a big clump opportunity. Like when there were like 4 units of Lizard men on 1 unit of deckhands, it would have been great to see Queen Bess get in there and just tear them to shreds. But you know what, he was tagging her other things and getting loads of value, so I can't complain too much. Excellently used there. As for magic, we gave him a 14 out of 20. There were a couple of great summons to protect his units. He knew exactly when to use them. Okay, this guy's charging in. Time to summon my units, get in the way, slow him down, shoot him to pieces. Excellently done there. We love that. The Nocturus Shadow ability, I can't remember exactly what it's called, but that was very well used. It was used on the Old Blood when it came into attack, and towards the end on one of the other monsters. I can't exactly remember which it was, but it was very excellent used. Did a lot of damage, lots of value there. There are a few good buffs here and there, but it would have been nice to see the Gunnery Y use a few more buffs on Bess, since, Queen Bess with buffs, it's just a new level of gross that she gets elevated to. Of course, I think he was giving her more ammo because she was shooting the entire battle, which is very difficult to do, but the buffs would have been nice to see. Keep him right next to her and all of the other range units if he can, just to get the most value that he can. So that brings the Vampire Coast total to 43.5 out of 60, plus a 15 bonus, which does mean that he's going to take it. Wizard King is moving on to the semi-finals. So that concludes this episode of the Noobs for the Noob God Tournament. If you have enjoyed this so far, then be sure to leave a like and, sub to the channel and all that fun stuff. So into the channel, it just means that whenever I upload a video that you see immediately, you don't need to search for it, you don't need to do anything, it just comes straight to your YouTube front page, and there you go, you can watch it as easy as that. I'd appreciate it oh so much, because only about 20% of people that watch are subscribed, so if we could get that number up, I want it to be, at least 21%. That'd really make my day. If 21% of people that watching this video were subscribed, that'd be just fantastic. So please do consider doing it. Helps out me, and it helps you get the content as soon as you possibly can. So yes, if you enjoyed this video, then be sure to leave a like and a comment saying, wow, this was an excellent battle. This was an excellent battle, so I wouldn't be surprised if you did comment that. But if you did not like this video, if you think there was something I could have done better, something the players could have done better, then be sure to leave a dislike and a comment down below, just absolutely roasting us into oblivion. We would all appreciate that oh so very, very much. But yes, I believe that about covers everything, so for now, I've been COLONELDAMNEDERS, and I'll see you next turn.